Hello, my name is Lacy MacAuley, and I am a U.S. citizen here in Washington, D.C., who was arrested and assaulted during the G20 summit in Toronto. I was in Toronto because I very adamantly oppose the G20's policies. The G20 only acts to bail out large banks and corporations, and what they really should be doing is actually acting to preserve vital social safety net items that actually help people get through hard economic times, not using faulty trickle-down economics to actually try to promote paying money out to the people who already have the most, thinking that it will trickle down to those who need it the most. We know that the trickle-down economics don't work, and the G20 should not be bailing out banks and corporations. It should be bailing out people. Also, I very adamantly oppose the open market or free trade policies of the G20. I believe that these policies only allow corporations to gallop into countries and do whatever they want, allow corruption to occur when corporations just are able to promote policies that are just exactly the types of laws that they want to see, and it is all in the direction of the same type of violence that I experienced at the G20 summit and that a lot of us experienced at the G20 summit. Because for all of us, when we stand up and actually stand against these policies, just like people have been doing in Peru, Papua New Guinea, Chile, Botswana, so many places, the government forces and forces of oppression will try to keep us down. So this is what we experienced during the G20 summit in Toronto. We experienced the state's violence, and just wherever the G20 goes, violence follows. So on Sunday, June 27th, I was actually at a very peaceful jail solidarity rally. In fact, we were singing Kumbaya. People were drawing peace doves on the sidewalk, on the street. And basically, right in front of me, about 20 feet away, there was a young man who police basically charged in. They seized him, and I went forward to try to get a photo of that. I was actually taking photos for the Alternative Media Center and tweeting them for the Alternative Media Center. Then I looked over, and before I knew it, there were 6 or 7 officers charging towards me to arrest me. So I am very well trained in nonviolence. I'm a 105-pound or 47-kilogram female. They basically, I didn't resist when they picked me up, threw me on the pavement once. I was able to put my right hand down to keep my face from hitting the pavement. Then I was picked up very violently and kind of dragged up, pulled behind the police line. I was dragged for at least 10 feet during that time. I was thrown down again, and there's video footage of all of this. There, at that point, I had been basically snatched by uniformed officers. At that time, 4 men in plain clothes then took me, sort of threw me towards an unmarked van. If you can picture this, the middle seat of the van was actually folded down so that there was a space to lie on, essentially. I was thrown in and jostled around. I was put on my back so that my feet were towards the end of the van, and my head was towards the passenger seat and the driver's seat. And one of the officers, who I know to be Officer Kevin Antoine of the Division 52 in the Toronto Police, Kevin Antoine is badge number 7880. Officer Antoine then sat on top of me. Another man who I have no idea whether he's a police officer or not. No one ever identified themselves to me as a police officer. Then actually, the second officer then Officer Antoine was punching me in the torso after I was thrown in the van. The second officer then actually went and choked me and dug his thumb deeply into my carotid artery, and I almost went unconscious. Then Officer Antoine was just continuing to sit on top of me and sort of shifting around, sort of treating me like an inanimate object. My throat was held for about 10 seconds. I very closely tried not to lose consciousness at that point. But at that point I lost bladder control and urine seeped into my clothing. Then I did not go unconscious, and the other officer released my throat. At that point, that other officer then punched me in the head very hard. I still did not lose consciousness. At that point, Officer Antoine then sort of started patting around me and said, "Why is she wet?" To the other officer, and the other officer replied that I had urinated on myself. And at that point, Officer Antoine then expressed disgust and scooted further down my legs. He had been sitting again over my pelvic area. At that point, Officer Antoine then continued to verbally assault me, was using a variety of very, very gender-specific terms, very sexually charged terms. They're terms that I do not want to repeat out loud. So Officer Antoine then continued to go ahead and assault me, as it took several minutes to pull into the police station. I had been flipped over on my stomach by that point, and he actually threatened to punch me in the nose as well and break my nose if I did not keep my face down towards the carpet. I do believe that I was very vulnerable at that point to sexual assault, and I believe that if I had not urinated into my clothing, that I might have been sexually assaulted. I was in a very vulnerable position, and I consider myself pretty lucky that things weren't actually worse. I stand with all of the women who have been assaulted and whose rights have been violated during the G20. And I also stand with all of the women across the world who are subject to G20 policies that are just as violent and just as disruptive. I think we need to continue to stand together. We need to keep our spirits strong, and we need to continue to stand up and oppose the G20. Again, I'm Lacy MacAuley, and I am here in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.